Welcome to Community Connections. I'm Linda Williamson, and today we're talking with Kim. Hi Kim, how are you?
Good, Linda, and you?
I'm good, thank you. Can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. As you said, my name's Kim. It's Kim Asmussen. I was born in North Battleford, Saskatchewan. I lived there for 3 years, and then we moved into Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, where I grew up from there.
So how did you get to Schreiber?
Well, it was a bit of a drawn-out situation. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I finished high school, so I worked in the bush north of Prince Albert for, it was supposed to be a year, and then I was going to go to university, take my Bachelor of Commerce degree in Saskatoon, and then that year went by, and I said, my boss said, so what university are you going to? I said, well, I'm going to work for another year. He says, if you don't go next year, I'm going to fire you, so you better make sure you go to university. And then I sort of like the forestry work, so I ended up going to Lakehead University in Thunder Bay and took my Honours Bachelor of Science in Forestry. And then from there, I met this girl, I was at a party, it was in the dorms, and this little girl came up to me and says, hello. I said, who are you? It happened to be this Brenda Sabrario from Schreiber, so started dating each other and eventually got married. And after I finished my forestry degree, I worked in the bush for a year, and we thought this isn't going very well where you're away for 5 days a year. So I went back and got my Bachelor of Education degree to become a teacher, and a job opening opened up in Schreiber here for Brenda. So she transferred here as a public health nurse, and I followed and eventually got a teaching job.
That's awesome. Do you have any children?
Yes, we have 3. Christine is the youngest, she's 30. Michael's 33, and Matthew's 36. So Christina lives in Edmonton, Michael lives in Calgary, and Nanaimo back and forth. And Matthew, the oldest one, he's in Tri-Cities, Washington State. And one grandchild who we got to see last November physically, and we haven't seen her, a year ago, just because of the COVID situation. But the kids are great. They're FaceTime or Skype us every week, so we see them that way.
What did you do for fun as a child?
Well, as I said, I grew up in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, so a lot of it was prairie stuff. Not so much on farm. You think, I did lots on the farm. We'd visit the farm, the homestead once in a while. But a lot of bike riding in the summertime. There's lots of dirt roads in the back. Prince Albert, there was a federal penitentiary, a men's jail, a women's jail. So quite often we'd take our bikes around and look at the inmates that were out working on the farm annex. Golfing, we did a lot of golfing. A lot of the sometimes small courses where they're sand green, so you'd throw your clubs on the back of your back, go to the golf course, and then by the way, it's sort of different. Every now and then we got the good golf course. I did a lot of skiing in the wintertime. And then probably a lot of like people in Schreiber, we had a slough or a swamp behind our house just down the field, so we'd be making rafts and going out there fiddling around. In the wintertime it would freeze or not quite frozen. We'd still take our skates out there. And then, most towns have an outdoor rink. We had one just down the block, so we'd go to the outdoor rink until ski season opened up, and then we'd hit the ski hills. But basically things that, barefoot on a bike and away you go for the day.
What are some of your favorite memories about living in Schreiber?
Probably one of the best ones is, if you think about the mixed baseball league that we had 20 some years ago, was sort of a neat culture where you'd see all the cars lined up around the ball field. Your kids would be there either playing at another ball field or down below playing. You sort of be trying to keep an eye on them. The hockey was a big part of it, hockey and figure skating. I coached hockey for quite a few years, as you know, Logan. Yeah. And so that's obviously a big memory, just how we would try and bring things in, the excitement in the arena, because we had so many kids in town. We had a team, Terrace Bay had a team, and there was sort of a little bit of rivalry, which I didn't mind. But that's big, and I've done a few projects in town, and the volunteerism that is in this town, like people love to help. And that's really important, that I find one of the main memories.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask you, is about volunteering or your jobs, your careers while living in Schreiber.
Okay, so I taught, I started at Holy Angel School, so I started teaching grade 3, went up to grade 7, 8, went back to grade 5 and grade 6 for a bit, and then I became the information computer technology lead for the board, and did that for a couple of years, and then couple of openings came open as administrator at the schools for the Superior Greenstone District School Board, so I applied and was lucky enough to get the position there. So I was principal in Schreiber and Terrace Bay Public School for 5 years, and also during one of those years, I was also had the principalship of the high school in Terrace Bay. So it was a busy time.
And what other volunteering did you do?
Well, I was on the fire department for 25 years. Was a captain when I finished, and that was sort of neat too because I'd be at school and I'd get a fire call, so someone would come in, and hopefully I'd be able to catch Gene Ross coming up the hill from the sewer plant. If not, I was running with my loafers on all the way to the fire hall. But I still remember one time I was I was teaching this one group of kids, and I was ragging them out because they hadn't done none of them had done any homework. They weren't doing any work during the day. And the fire call came and the pager went off, and I could hear one of the kids go, "Oh, good." So that was kind of funny.
Do you have any hobbies?
I like woodworking, and then I was sort of starting getting into right now. I just did a sample, and I'm going to do more this summer. Is chainsaw carving.
Oh.
So I've got a little bear that I was working on. So I got some logs now. So I'm just waiting for the summer to come for that. I did an ice sculpture last year, so I researched it a bit more on how to make those crystal clear ice blocks. I've got the material. And again, the same thing happened last year. I was making an ice sculpture and it warmed up, and the ice wouldn't freeze, so it took a long time to freeze. Same thing happened here. I put it in just after Christmas. We had all that warm temperature, but now I finally got some ice blocks. So actually, today I'm hopefully going to be able to pull them out and start carving them up.
Are you going to tell us what you're going to carve?
No, because it might not work out. Same with that bear. The first bear I was doing, I did the head and I didn't like it very much, so I cut the head off and I went and borrowed a stump from my neighbor Nick. I'm going to put the bear on the stump, so now I've got a smaller bear that looks like it's sitting in the stump.
Oh, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to see it.
And I've taken up another little hobby, snowshoe art. So it's just basically all it is making geometric shapes in the snow, but large geometric shapes. So that's sort of a hobby in the winter for me, and then the ice sculpture.
How did that interest you, doing the snowshoeing?
I was on the internet again. I was researching about ice sculptures, and this thing popped up about snowshoe art. This Simon Beck was the guy's name. So I looked it up. I went, wow, and this guy has got some phenomenal shape. So I looked at some of his stuff and thought, how did he do that? And then so I've used some of his stuff or similar to it, and then I'm designing some of my own. Well, I'm designing them, also researching geometric line patterns, and then see if I can make them out in the snow.
So, do you do it by yourself, or do you have a group of people that help?
The first time I did it, but usually I get one or two people. Last year, Dave Tamlin did quite a bit with me. Derek Cruikshank and I, he's a former student. Actually, I called it my favorite former student when I put it on Facebook, and everyone said, "I thought I was your favorite former student." Well, you're only my favorite former student until someone else outdoes you. So. But last year, I had Dave Tamlin helped me with some, and then this year, Bubba Hillers helped me, and Roddy McKenzie. Had Ted Jordan and his wife Kathy came out for one, or Ted's done two. George Daniels was in Terrace Bay. We got Kenny McKenzie's helping us, and now Todd Joubert's doing a little drone work for us. I've got a drone too, but I crashed it the other day, so I have to. I'm glad I have them, but it's hard to do you're trying to do that and then get a drone shot. The key with the drone shot is you need sunlight.
Yes.
So if it's near the end of the day, the sun's going down, you get in shadow, so you can't see it.
So whereabouts have you done all of the snowshoe art so far?
Walker's Lake, we did 2 last year. I've done with Superior Greenstone. I'm working with the director now. We're looking at incorporating them into the schools. We've done 6 schools already. Last year I was able to get it into 6 different schools where we take the kids out and do the same thing, and we're working into the curriculum. So like from Manitowoc, Marathon, Terrace, Nipigon, Beardmore, Dorian. And then locally we've done the golf course, the driving range of the golf course. We've done that twice now, but we haven't got a drone shot because it clouded up and so so we have to do it again. And this one particular shape is elusive because I'd done it in Marathon High School, and we couldn't get a drone shot because you can't fly it in the town. There's some towns you can't fly it in because there's an airport.
Right.
Then we did it at Walker's Lake, and Dave Tamlin had just come back from New Zealand, and his drone, he couldn't get the GPS to work for his drone to line up, so we couldn't get a shot of it then. And then it snowed, and so we did it twice in Terrace Bay, same thing. So we have it set up. Next snowfall, we're going there to do it when it's sunny. And then we've done the ball field here a couple of times. And Ronji Lake, we did one. Well, Dave and I did one last year in Ronji. and then another one again yesterday.
They are amazing. I've seen pictures of them and just incredible. Amazing work.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Keeping me out of the house.
Do you have an object to share with us?
Sure, I brought a couple. Actually, this was never mine. It was Mr. Rummery's, and there was a garage sale, so it's an old telegraph machine from the that he had. I think he was an operator. I'm not sure, but I think that's what he was, or a dispatcher. So yes, the old telegraph machine. There is an adapter to hook up for the electricity part. I just haven't tried it yet. I haven't found anyone else with another telegraph machine, so I don't know how that's going to work. My father-in-law was a contractor, and his dad was a builder too. While he was a railroader, Morro Subrario, and but he was also a builder. And Giovanni learned from the tradesmen that he would bring in. But there are some hand tools here, so it's just some chisels and chisel blades that
Oh, that's neat.
they had, yeah. And then some of the chisels, like we have routers for all this stuff now, but it's nice and sharp, obviously. And then this one here. It sort of relates to Schreiber a bit. I don't have the right number. These are World War I cap badges that my grandfather collected after World War I. So we've got about 250 of them at home, and each different regiment or battalion had a certain number. Thunder Bay or Port Arthur. So the people from Schreiber would have been in the Port Arthur one in World War I, and that was number 52, Battalion 52.
I'll have to see what my dad was in. Because he was in World War II.
Yeah, but it would have been World War I. These are all from World War I.
Okay.
So I don't have that number, so I'm going to try and search it down because I have 51, I have 53, but I don't have 52. So I think it would be kind of neat to get that one.
And where did these come from?
My grandfather collected them.
But what part of the uniform were they?
Oh, so the cap. The
okay.
cap badge, and the smaller ones were the shoulder badges.
Oh.
And I didn't bring them, but there's little hooks to hold them in there. So that's how you can tell what battalion you were from.
Yeah.
So there's 500 battalions in all, by the sounds of about 1,000 men per battalion.
Oh my goodness.
In World War I. So I've got them displayed at home.
Very cool. So how has technology changed?
Well, like I say, if you think this is how they used to communicate. In fact, when we got married, you get a telegraph. And what I still remember when I was the MC for my sister-in-law, Tina, and because she married an Italian, a guy with Italian heritage also from Thunder Bay, there's some of the telegrams came in Italian. So I had Kim Gillard off to the side with the microphone. He was reading it in Italian. I was pretending I was doing it. So, that's how wedding greetings used to come, was through the telegraph. That's even when I got married, which was, only 40 years ago. But then you think about it, even, like I said, with my kids, they're FaceTime. So, when I was living in Schreiber or going to university, you get one phone call from your mother once a month because it was quite a bit of money, and you get a letter every now and then. She'd start her letters off. I was just getting ready to go to choir practice, so I thought I'd drop you a line. I said, well, Mom, you couldn't have picked a special point for me. But, yeah, so you get that letter once in a while and a phone call once a month. So now, you can contact your kids anytime you want, or you get to, like, say, once a week at least. The kids will FaceTime. As Chrissy, our daughter, does a bit more of that mother-daughter relationship. And I'm waiting for the day when my granddaughter will pick up the phone and give us a FaceTime or a Skype, on her own. When she said, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to Grandma and Grandpa."
That'll be an awesome day.
It will be. And then, you have to think about how technology's changed in the schools. When I first started, we had a Commodore. Well, even when I first started university, my first year of university, there was a cards. You would type in a line on cards. There'd be punch cards. I'm not sure whether you're you're younger than I thought you were. So there was these punch cards. So that would be each line of the program you do. So first year of university, we had the punch cards. The next year, we got into systems were file systems, so you could save your files on that, and then from your programs. They didn't have all these box programs back in the day where you'd have to tell it to add those numbers up and whatnot. And then when I started teaching, actually when I was in university, there was a big course, multimedia course. One of the huge projects was you'd take a picture like from National Geographic, and you'd have to cut the line perfectly with a razor blade and put them together. And that was like high-end technology. So then when I came to started teaching, we had Commodore 64s. The secretary, Edith Cosgrove, she had a Commodore 128, so she had a little better one than us. And then slowly you get one or two computers in the classroom. I still remember I had 32 kids in grade 7 and 8. I wanted to teach them word processing, so they'd be all over the school they'd have their own little floppy disk, whether it was a 5 1/4 or 3 1/2, if it was a newer computer. And then now every student's got a computer on their desk or have access to a computer all day long. So that's a huge change.
Definitely. Do you have stories about Schreiber that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. There's sort of two groups of stories. I used to listen to my father-in-law Giovanni. He talked about some of the stories. One that always stood out in my mind was, and this would happen nowadays, you would just, no way that's going to happen. He was in grade 8, going to obviously this Schreiber Public School. There was a forest fire north of town. So they took the bigger, I thought it was all the grade 8s, but they took the bigger grade 8s, and he was a bigger person. You're going to fight forest fire. So he had to ran home, grabbed his rubber boots, and unfortunately they were his younger brother's boots, so they were too small for him. And they hopped on a float plane, flew up north, and when they were landing with the float plane, they hit a log, so they had to get out of the plane quick. And he said, there I was, fighting fires in grade 8 with the prisoners of war. They also brought the prisoners of war, and they had circles on the back of their shirts, that they knew who they were. So that's sort of one story that always sticks out in my mind with him. Stories with me, probably every time you think about it, I've been involved in a few projects. I remember one time we had the NHL Legends in town, and we were doing chuck-a-puck, and I was in charge of the chuck-a-pucks, and we just didn't have one spot. We had spots all over the ice where if your puck was there, you'd get a prize. Anyways, Marcel Dion's it was in between periods. Marcel Dion is at the gate. He had never seen chuck-a-puck before, believe it or not. So he comes flying out, takes a dive down on the ice like this, and he's going towards some of the pucks that had prizes on it, because we hadn't handed all the prizes. I said, no, hang on. But, that was sort of funny that he had never seen chuck-a-puck, something like that. And then, we had some great stories, like we had Dudley Hewitt Cup here, the Keystone Cup here, which there's a lot of stories, some I can't say on air, that was going on. Just the big crowds in the arena and the excitement, that was fun.
You mentioned that you like building. Is there anything that you've built lately?
Well, actually, probably the first thing where people knew who Kim Asmussen was as opposed to, oh, you're Brenda Saberio's husband, was I was involved at Holy Angels. We did a big project there. We put a ball field in, soccer field, tennis court. So I think that was sort of one of the changing things. Oh, you're Kim Asmussen, not, like I said, Brenda Saberio's. That was sort of funny because when we had the 125th anniversary here, all depends who you talk to as to who you were. If it's an older person, I'm married to Giovanni and Marcy Saberio's daughter, Brenda. If there's someone sort of around our age, I'm married to Brenda Saberio. And then if they're younger, they knew that I actually had a name, Kim Asmussen. So that was one thing that was a huge project. We had lots of, like I said, the help in Schreiber is phenomenal. As long as you ask people if they want to help, they'll help. A lot of people don't like organizing, but I don't mind organizing, and people say you fly by the seat of your pants, but sometimes you just have to. Just a couple of years ago, we did a grotto here at Holy Angels Parish. That was a big one. About a 50-foot wall, 14 feet high at the tallest, but that was another one of those things where the community just came together. I remember when Father Sawchuk and I were out there planning it out, sort of what we're going to do, and I said, we're going to go bigger, we're going home. I said, because we're not adding on to it, we're doing it once. And I said, you're going to be surprised how this thing starts to steamroll in town. And sure enough, people kept coming, can I help, can I do this, can I do that? And there's a lot of heritage in that. In the back of the cave, here I saw a picture of it, I sort of tried to make it look like a chalice, so imagine it is a chalice. But we've got stones from people who go back to their homes, their heritages, and from the family heritages. So we have stones in there from, back in Italy, Saskatchewan. I went to my mother-in-law's mother's homestead and got a rock from there. So there's Harold Shack and her both have a rock from their homestead in there. And then Gaspé Peninsula, the stones, like I said, from Italy. So that's sort of one part. Above where Mary is, we've got some stones. Someone said it was a stone from the Vatican. Whether or not it is, I'm not sure. Or one that looks like it. And then we put the priests. We've had 4 priests from Schreiber. Actually came from Schreiber. And I think it was 11 nuns were actually from Schreiber. So I went to their yards. I found out Monsignor Bergeron, he's passed away now, but he was able to tell me where some of them lived, because some of them we weren't really sure. So I went to the yards that they lived in. So over there, the priests are on one side and the nuns are on the other side, from the yards where they grew up.
Wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is bringing the heritage of Schreiber into this magnificent piece of artwork.
Mm-hmm. And actually, in the altar, they used to have altar stones and altars, and this altar stone that is in there now, there's relics inside there. That is from the original church, and we've got it put on the top of the altar there. Yeah.
Great work.
Thanks.
I mean, you drive by there, and it's just amazing to look at it.
Now it was fun. Like even the cross. Ray Bergeron used to be with Ontario Hydro, and there's some old telephone poles, and they're all Western red cedar. So him, his wife, and Peter Rees made the cross from these old trees. So pretty well everything's upcycled in that whole thing.
Yeah.
The old the granite on the bottom are old granite scraps were going to get thrown out anyway. So it's a nice upcycled project.
It's very nice.
Thank you.
How important is the library to you and to the community?
I think it's really important because there's so much in here. Like if you go back into the history, you've got relics, or not relics, what's the word I'm looking for?
Archives.
Archives, thank you. The archives are in here, and we forget so much, what's happened, just to go back. And there's so much history in Schreiber. It's sort of interesting because one year a couple of years in school, we were doing vignettes. So we go to different the kids research different vignettes or different buildings or businesses and how that has changed. And if you start looking at it, like even where Suburbios have their lumberyard, that was the old YMCA, then it became Spadoni's car lot. So there's so much history in this town, and here you can find it in the library. And it's so good that you can get books, you can order books online, get them ready. So it's not like, I have to be in this huge library, and if you walk into Calgary, there's books all over the place, but at least we can get those books here. That's, I think, the main important thing.
How has COVID affected your life?
Well, actually not a heck of a lot, to be honest with you. You go to the post office, you go to the Costa, so maybe the time we go for a walk anyways, but the one thing it has affected is the being able to go visit our kids. That's probably the biggest thing. And again, you can't socialize. Like right now we're in that lockdown, you can't even go see your neighbor. Property lines you can talk, but so that sort of affected the reclusion a bit, but that's why I do social work.
How do you envision the future?
I can see, because we're sitting in that stage now, because we've got the tourist information here. There's a lot of tourism along the North Shore. Terrace Bay's got their, down at the lakefront now, they've got the lighthouse. We're going to have the splash pad here, so there's so much. Hopefully we can pull in those tours, and maybe through COVID, because people, again, might not be able to travel again this summer far away, maybe they'll start coming this way, start stopping at our spot. So I can see where the tourism might take off with us baby boomers looking for things to go, or places to go.
Thank you, Kim, for spending your time with us and sharing your memories and all the wonderful things you do for our community.
Well, thank you. It's a great place to live, and if people are looking, it's a great place to visit. So, quite often, like when Brenda and I, we go out west, we used to go see my parents and whatnot, we're zipping through these towns. We're not stopping, but one of these days we're going to start taking some time, because there's so much history in other small towns, just as there is in Schreiber. So hopefully we'll start doing that, as will people when they come to Schreiber.
I agree. Thank you for watching.